I would love to officially welcome you all at our event, Born to Lead 2024. Born to Lead is one of the events that we really care about, and we put most of our effort. And that is because we do campaign and training. And whenever we are doing the training, what transpires from that training is majority of women of color who are running for office, they don't have a network. They don't network in the sense of they don't network with their peers. They don't network with other women of color who are running for office. That is the purpose, that's the reason we come up with this idea and creating a space where women of color can come together and build relationship, have a conversation, share resources, so on and so forth. And also to celebrate all of you because you deserve. You have been doing an amazing work as women first, and women of color, which increased the challenge of someone who is running for office. We all know, we work with all of you, we have seen what it means running for office. And when you are a woman of color, there is the discrimination that is added. There is also the barrier of being in a leadership settings that's oftentimes you realize once you are running, you're like, oh, why I haven't had this, why I haven't did this type of training. Because so either you don't know or because you literally rush into the stepping into the campaign because you see how your community needs you. And that's one of the reasons we also created this space. Last year, we had a similar, we do this event every year. And we had a group of women, and one of them actually joined us with a little bit less confident. And when we completed the event, she literally said, I'm happy that I joined you guys. I'm going to knock the hell off the doors the remaining 2 weeks because now I have a confidence. I see a woman who looks like me running for office. I know that what I have been thought before that was something related just as something that she thought was an individual thing and not as something that is systemic in the sense of when she was door knocking or when she was reaching people, she was always getting this negative response. And she thought that was her, that she was doing something wrong. When she came on this panel and had the conversation with other women who was running for office, she realized, oh no, this is actually a systemic thing. It's not that I haven't done my homework or haven't, be someone who is not, I'm not someone who is not ready to be a candidate. So this is a really special space where we want all of you women to feel celebrated, to feel that nurture in the sense of in the mind and emotionally, because we believe in you. We believe that you are an amazing candidate. We believe your community needs, and we believe that you are going to be successful. And the other thing is that some of you, this is the first time that you're running for office. Others have been in office and they are seeking re-election. The experience those who have been already in office have is something that you all guys that are new don't have. So this is another way that we want you to build a networking relationship and have these great resources with other women of color. We're gonna, and before I conclude, I will love women winning vote and lead. Please come in. We had an amazing sponsors tonight. Women winning vote and lead, gender justice, Minnesota Voice were among ones, but women winning and vote and lead are here. And we want them to speak because of our relationship and the partnership that we have been having for the last 5-6 years. So come on and share your experience and
Well, thank you for having us and for having Vote, Run, Lead Action here tonight, and for all of you for running for office that are running for office. And I was not expecting to speak, so I don't have something ready. But we, Vote, Run, Lead Action, we are working to make sure that the legislature is 51% led by women, and not just anyway, but intersectional, anti-racist, reform-minded, democracy reform-minded women, and that starts right here in this room. So thank you all very much for doing that, and thank you for your partnership.
Thanks, Beth. Anin, Indigenous Cause Nevada Little Wolf. My name is Nevada Little Wolf. I am a citizen of Leech Lake Nation, which is located in northern Minnesota, and I'm the executive director of Women Winning. Thank you, Miigwech. I'm really excited to be here because Ayada Leads is such an incredible partner for Women Winning in really reaching out to BIPOC women and lifting them up in their leadership, in their power, right? In your power. And at Women Winning, we are doing recruiting, training, mentoring, coaching, and then we endorse and we elect pro-choice women at all levels of office. So it is specific to Minnesota, and we will endorse at the school board level all the way up to the presidency. And the reason we take this model and this approach is because we know that when a woman steps into leadership, it may be it has to make sense for her. And so that might be at the local level, but it might be that the first race they run is for Senate, right? We certainly have supported candidates that was their first race, is Senate or Congress, but we've also supported folks that their first race was school board or city council. And we also know that there is a pathway that sometimes that's created. If we look at our lieutenant governor, we endorsed her for school board. Now she's slated to be the first woman governor in Minnesota. We are really doing some transformational work at Women Winning and really talking more about what it means, what reproductive justice means, and going beyond the pro-choice, anti-choice binary. And what that really means is that each and every one of you in this room brings perspective into policy that we need to be changing and making more effective for our lives, and making sure that our future and our daughters' futures are protected. So we're really excited to be here today, and thank you, Haban.
So before I pass the mic to Kausar, Ayada Leads team, where are you guys? Rise up, stand up. Thank you so very much being a part of Ayada Leads, your hard work, and everything that you have done and you're going to do, and you have been doing it. Yeah, I was like, where is she? So, you know, all without you, trainings, events, anything will not be happening, and will not be able to be successful the way we are. So thank you so very much. We're going to watch a little video that will show our journey.
So, hello everyone. My name is Kausar Muhammad. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and Ayada. I serve as a consultant, but really as a moderator in this space today with all of these change makers and these power breakers and really culture bearers in our community. And so today we're excited to hear from all of them about their leadership journeys, but really what's driven them in this path that they're on right now, and what can we learn from them in wisdom, but also what can we also do to support them in this space as well. So I'll start, and we'll just maybe go around like this. And so for the first question of the night, and we'll first maybe have you all share your name, your pronouns, your current role and position, and then if you can answer the first question, which is, can you tell us a bit about who you are, your background, and what inspired you to embark on this journey of civic leadership and run for public office? And so we'll start here with Representative Yang.
All right. Well, thank you for having me, Ayada. It's been a pleasure to see some new faces as well as some familiar faces. The last time I saw Senator Zainab was when we went on a Taiwan delegation together, and that was a year ago. So I'm so happy to see you again, sister. So I'm Samantha Vang. I represent Brooklyn Center, Brooklyn Park area. I'm currently running for re-election for my 4th term now. So I've been in this office for 6 years, and my pronouns are she and her. And I'll keep my story brief since I know we have a long line of stories to tell as well. But when I got elected, me alongside with Representative Kali Her, we were the first 2 Hmong women to be elected in the State House. And then at that time, when I was running, when we took back the majority in 2018, I was also the youngest female elected into the state legislature. I believe, according to the librarian at the legislature, said I was the 2nd youngest ever. And I believe now Senator Zainab may have defeated me in that title now. So, but I come from a daughter of refugees. My parents arrived here in '93 with nothing but the clothes on their backs, and shortly afterwards, I was born here, and I had to grow up really quickly, like we all do as daughters of and children of refugees. We have to be our parents' interpreters, set up appointments, and help them navigate the government system and whatnot. And so, growing up, it was really just trying to make sure that our family was able to make ends meet. And so not only being the youngest and also the oldest daughter in the family, it was really my pathway into politics has been pretty unconventional. So, but I'm happy that I got to be here, and very thrilled to continue to be a trailblazer for our communities. And thank you, everyone.
Hi, buenas tardes. My name is Maria Isa Perez Vega. I am up for re-election. I represent District 65B, which is St. Paul and half of the city of West St. Paul. So all of you who I've seen at the Capitol, you're walking around in my district. You're walking around in the people's house, and that's yours house, and that's what I remind everybody. I have a background of being a child of revolutionaries. I'm Boricua, I am Puerto Rican. I have every ancestral culture that continues to survive through the rhythms of our drums that have survived the Middle Passageway. I'm the daughter of young lords. I am the daughter of Puerto Rican and the granddaughter of Puerto Rican men who were drafted to war but could not vote for the president, as they still can. So I am born to 2nd-class citizens and 1st generation here in Minnesota. I am a musician, I'm an artist, specifically a hip hop artist, and one of the first women in hip hop to really break down certain barriers by becoming elected. But most important, thank you. Most importantly is I'm a youth worker. And I have been working with youth since I was a youth. I've been working in, like my colleague here, my sis in the house said, we were the social workers at 8 years old, translating. And even if you had parents that that needed an extra help and an extra hand, that became your job, whether it's childcare, whether it's ensuring that there's food on the table to feed those that are working. And also recognizing that, especially as women of color, and this is such a beautiful event, I'm so happy the continuance of this. Me and Senator Muhammad were just talking about how it's just cute and it's beautiful, but it's important, the collectivity, especially in Minnesota, and the purpose of me going into that light is I've seen so many women that have been, they don't want to be the first. They want to be collectively together. They want to see the change and progress, and those are our elders, whether they're living or they've passed. They've passed on traditions. They've passed on inspiration, importantly, but dignity, and recognizing that if we don't stand up for women as women, no one will. And in particularly, I love it when folks say, oh my gosh, we're going to lose our rights. Where I'm like, well, we never had those rights when y'all had those rights. And that particular speaking with white women, to say that you need to be a little louder and tell your husbands and your grandfathers and your daughters and your sons that it's not just focusing on women, that it's even fighting even harder for who your cousins are and who your wives are and who are your cousins and your in-laws now, because that's what we see and that's where we come from when we look at the demographics of Minnesota, right? So I'm a child that survived Minnesota nice, and that ain't nice. And I got tired of recognizing that this isn't the world as a mother that I want my Afro-Boricua daughter to grow up in, saying that that's nice, because it's not nice. And the only way that we're going to be able to do it is through getting civically engaged and electing our women and working together. This isn't about 4 food groups. My mom used to say that. And she used to say they put us in the 4 food groups in the rainbow or the cub food aisle. There's the Asian aisle, there's the Hispanic, Hispanic aisle, there's, the African aisle, there's the Asian. It's like the whole, like, all of us speak different languages and we come from different tribes, even if we're on the same continent. The importance of that is that we work and we stop putting them in those 4 aisles and we put them into what we all know, that we come from village. And in a village, we're not in a box. We're in a full circle. So what got me to guide through that is the drum that I carry, is my ancestors that I represent while I'm in a chamber. It's recognizing the disparities amongst our own communities, that if we don't amplify our voices together, it's a war amongst each other.
Hi everyone, I am Huda Ibrahim. I'm from St. Cloud, Minnesota, and yes, Central Minnesota. I am an educator, but I started my journey as just a young person who was always involved and engaged and active in the St. Cloud local politics. I have a BA from the College of St. Benedict and St. John's University. I have a master's from the University of Notre Dame, and I just completed my PhD in education. And I'm also an author, so if you ever want to know something about Central Minnesota, read From Somalia to Snow. Oh yeah, snow. And yeah, I serve on various boards, including St. Cloud Area Chamber of Commerce and Central Minnesota Community Foundation and Marie's. And so I have been asked to run by so many people. One of them is Ayada Leaders organization director. I am very, very grateful and humbled to be here with our very own Dr. Habon. She's an inspiration to all of us. She's a strong leader, she's a visionary, and I absolutely admire her leadership. And so I remember a week before I actually decided to run, I met her at an event, and she was like, I've been asking you to run, okay? And I was like, you know what? Now I'll think about it. And then I went home and actually thought of it. And of course, other women who actually don't look like me, and who are also in leadership positions in St. Cloud. Our very own mayor of St. Cloud, Mayor Dave Klaas, also asked. But I always had that fear of being the first, and I never wanted it to take the lead to really become, a leader in St. Cloud in that capacity. But right now, if you know, St. Cloud is actually growing significantly when it comes to diversity. And so we don't have representation. And according to Minnesota Campus, we have now 30.3% of St. Cloud is people of color. Yes. The diversity in St. Cloud in 2010 was actually 7%. Today, 30.3%. And we will continue to grow and thrive in the future. But because of lack of representation, and I have seen that because I taught at the Tech College for 10 years. I was the first Somali American, young, black, whatever diversity, the first ever to get hired at the Technical Community College. And so I have been to so many places and spaces where I was the only. And I was really tired of it because we got to create opportunities for others and not wait for someone else to bring those opportunities to us. And so I'm very blessed to be from Central Minnesota. We have wonderful leaders, but they don't look like us. And so I took the leap of faith and ran and actually came in second in the primary. So yeah, we were 16 and now I am among the 6 who are actually running, and I have been supported by so many amazing neighbors. I cannot tell you the amount of support that I have received as a woman of color in my community. Every door that I knocked on, people were nice to me and, affirmed me that, hey, we want to see change in this community, and that's a positive thing. And so besides my really, education and how significantly important it is to be involved and engage and serve, because service doesn't just mean going to school and getting education. You got to be involved. And I always based my conclusion based on data. I love research, and so I have been talking about the issues that we have in our community. And currently, I serve in a nonprofit organization that's actually bringing the public and the private sector together to really address the housing shortages that we have in Central Minnesota, because our employers are saying we cannot recruit people from outside while we cannot even retain, the ones that we have. And so we're addressing the housing shortages as well as helping the employers build an equity, places where people can stay and invest and play. And so I'm very grateful to be here with all of these beautiful sisters and, of course, brothers. I'm very humble. This is the first time I'm in this space, and so I'm very, very grateful to be here. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Karina Smith, and I am running for Columbia Heights School Board. Thank you. I am a first-time candidate, but have background in politics and really, aligning our values with systems and making sure that where we need to, we're disrupting, and where we need to, we're creating policy that actually addresses the disparities and the outcomes that we're looking to achieve. Outside of running, the work that I do is rooted in health equity and reproductive justice and sexual and reproductive health. And education is a social determinant of health, right? It is a way in which we can look at the health of our communities, the trajectory of the future of our children. It's a way in which we can think about how do we care for one another. And so I was honestly asked by my community to run for this seat. It was not something that I had previously thought about or considered, right? And so as someone who comes from community organizing, I always really invite people to organize me, to invite me into a vision that they see that I might not see for myself. And so I would just say, I hope that all of us can continue to be open to that, especially when it feels like a stretch, especially when it was something that you never thought of for yourself, but other people need you and want you and are willing to support you to be in those places and spaces.
Buenas noches. My name is Adriana Cerrillo. I am a school board member in Minneapolis Public Schools, and I represent District 4. Just to give you an idea, it's Lake of the Isles, Kenwood, Uptown, Downtown, and a little bit of the Northeast area. It covers Brent Mart and Anwatton. I got elected in 2020 with... I'm a good troublemaker for the system, all right? I have been, I'm 50 years old, and my own story starts, we moved to the United States when I was 15 years old, and it was during the time of the amnesty. And a lot of my family members, we did not qualify to get our documentation. So I immediately became undocumented. Thank goodness is that I did my education in Mexico. Primaria, elementary, secundaria, secondary education, y preparatoria. My education experience in Mexico was far superior than the U.S. I was 14 years old and taking trigonometry classes, right? So when we moved to the U.S., I didn't know the language, right? And I remember clearly that it was my home economics class. The teacher was handing out a quiz. Yo no hablo inglés, right? And I was asking my classmate for help. Por favor, ayúdame. Please help me. And I'm very persistent. I thank my ancestors for providing me with the strength of being a warrior. And gracias. I kept insisting, and then the teacher said something, and everybody went like, and I'm like, ¿Qué dijo? ¿Qué dijo? ¿Qué dijo? What did she say? She's like, nada, nada. And I'm like, listen, just because I don't speak the language, it means that I'm stupid. I probably know more than you all in here. I just need help. And then she's like, well, the teacher said that she doesn't know why people like you come to this country. I was 15 years old. And I remember I started crying. I could not control myself. And then all of a sudden, the teacher said, no estés llorando. And I'm like, ¿hablas español? She spoke Spanish. So that trauma and memory lives with me, right? Because it's like, welcome to America, right? To the racist land of. I'm sorry, it is what it is. I moved to Florida when I was 18 years old, and I moved to Florida, and I was undocumented, so I found ways to get there. And I have to thank my best friend, now angel in the universe, Rosalba. Because of her, I've moved to Florida, where I got married and had my daughters. I had the fortune of being able to process my documentation before 9/11, which created a lot of barriers, right? And that was not the case for my mother or my sister. And so it has been painful going through this journey of being documented but not being able to help the people that I love the most. As a matter of fact, my mother self-deported 6 years ago, and she passed away 4 years ago. It was during the time that we were running for school board in 2020. And I know she is with me, and she is my angel, because I have been battling demons on the school board, and that is the truth. So my reason of running for school board, I think my nephew is hiding, because I told them I was going to call him out. Michael, I've been raising 2 of my nephews for the last 6 years, and Michael came to live with me because his mother self-deported. And we ended up bringing Michael back to the U.S. He's a U.S. citizen. Because of all the horrible things that are taking place in Mexico and nobody's talking about, right? Like the killings, the rapings, the recruiting of our kids into the cartels. So we ended up bringing Michael with me, and we started actually in a charter school, believe it or not. Because I do contract work for different organizations. That has been my work for the last 20 years. And I was a family advocate at the time. And I was talking to some sisters earlier and sharing with you as well that I just didn't understand why coming into our Minneapolis public schools, we were not welcomed. And our own people that look like me were upholding white supremacy, right? So, but my experience and knowledge, because I did have the opportunity of going to college, once I got my documentation, that was my goal, right? And I had the fortune of attending New College of Florida, which is a liberal arts education. And through that experience, the veil came down. Because I didn't understand why we had homeless people in the United States. Because honestly, I wanted to have their social security number so that I could work. I didn't know. I didn't know the history. So I fell in love with history and became very well acquainted with the legal field. My ex-husband is an attorney. And with them, we got heavily invested in politics and also in community organizing. I decided to run for school board in 2020, which, by the way, I am the very first Mexicana ever elected in the history of Minneapolis public schools. Thank you. Not only Mexicana, but previously undocumented and deported as well. So my nephew has been the eyes and the ears. We moved from the charter school because of the language. It didn't work out. We ended up coming to Emerson, where the principal, I poured my heart out to him and asked for help. I didn't know we had social workers in our schools because my kids are grown. It's a new system. I didn't know we had therapists in our schools. My nephew was carrying a lot of trauma with them. And this principal, instead of referring us to the social worker to get help, he did not do anything. So we came to Emerson in 2019, in January, and by October of that year, the principal self-retired. I was gonna sue the district because my ex-husband is an attorney, so I know the law, right? And I brought a fresh and very uncomfortable perspective to the board because we went from shutting down the school board meetings to getting elected by 312 votes. It was not easy. I had to fundraise a lot of money, because we only get a stipend. I had to fundraise close to $30,000 for a position that only pays $20,000. It has been a journey. It has been challenging, but I am very happy and very proud of all the work that we are doing. We created the first Latina academic department ever so that we could help our Latino students because they are really behind academically. We have language access services. In all of our school board meetings, we have intérpretes en español, Somali, and Hmong. And that means funding. So not only bring forward the policy, but also allocate the funding, right? And and hire a new superintendent, because the previous superintendent, I worked very hard to get rid of them. I did. I'm not kidding with you. And the beauty of it is that I have a group of moms that I've been mentoring for the last 5 years, and they are real revolucionarias. So I'm very hopeful now, recently working with Representative Cesar Miran so that we can fully fund our public schools. And I want to thank you for your leadership, because you're a visionary and you're carrying this load. And I was telling other individuals, it is time that we get the passion to shut the system down for our children. Because if we don't get the funding, just look around in Minneapolis. It's going to be very scary. And we need to break down that system from school to prison pipeline, because it is real. So muchas gracias for having me here.
Thank you for all your work. I appreciate that. Very good. Hello, everyone. Okay, so my name is Anam Mahamud. I am the DFL endorsed candidate running for Minnesota House in 62B. Thank you. And that is South Minneapolis. It's East Phillips, Powderhorn, Bancroft, and a small pocket of Kingsfield. And so my background, I studied psychology at St. Catherine University, and I'm coming in with 12 years of healthcare experience. I started my career at Minsure during the first open enrollment. Yeah, when it was chaotic and nobody wanted to be associated with us. But yeah, I'm really proud of the work that we did. I got to be a part of history, build up our exchange from the ground up, and be able to remove the bar for pre-existing conditions. And thank you. And then I was the former COO of a substance treatment center and mental health clinic on Hennepin Lake, and we worked with folks from the encampments and underserved communities. And I truly believe if we uplift our most vulnerable in community, we uplift our entire community. Thank you. And so in February, I got a phone call 3 days before caucus, saying a seat was opening up and that I should consider running for office. And so I like to joke that they say that you have to ask a woman 7 times to run for office. This might have been the 7th time. And do you know how many times you have to ask a man? One time. Just once. Just once. Yeah, they'll just, no. And so I'm really grateful for organizations like Ayada Leads, because we need to decrease that number to just once or none. Yeah? We've got to work on that. I got involved, honestly, like growing up, my family, we were not really political. most likely because of the trauma from the civil war that had happened in Somalia. But I just grew up learning Democrats, Republicans, they're all the same. They're not going to do anything for you. They're not going to impact your life. They're not going to uplift you. So it was just, get educated, go to school, build a life for your family. But then, under Trump's presidency, came the Muslim ban. And that directly impacted me. And that was when I started to understand that government is going to make decisions about you, for you, and without you. So you need to get involved. And so I did. I got involved with the Muslim Coalition that is with Faith in Minnesota. And even then I was asked to run, but I was like, no, I'm good. I was working at the state. I was really happy with what I was doing there and being an advocate. But now I'm saying I no longer want to be an advocate at the door. I've been doing that for over 10 years, but I want to be a decision maker at the table. And I'm going to take my lived experience and then those of our neighbors to the State House, and we're going to make a difference. So, thank you.
And we're so excited to have you. I'm Kali Her. I'm State Representative 64A, just across the river. My pronouns are she, her, and I would say that the reason why I ran for office was really because of my children. I actually came to politics very late in my life. I'm a late bloomer. I didn't run for office until I was 45, and I think very similarly to Anand's story is that my family wasn't political, even though my parents have voted. They'd always voted. I didn't know that they were voting, but they were, and I wondered even for myself, like for many years, why hadn't I been engaged sooner? And I think that when you come to this country as a refugee, so I came when I was 4 years old, and when you don't have the privilege, I think politics really is a privilege, because when you're just busy putting food on the table, finding shelter, getting transportation, trying to get groceries, you just don't have the privilege of thinking who is making decisions for me and what are they doing every single day in these buildings. And so I never thought about that, and I didn't run for office until Obama ran the first time. And at first I was really ashamed to share this story because I was wondering, if I tell people that I wasn't politically engaged and I didn't even vote until I was in my 30s, they're gonna think that what are the perception of me? But the truth is that was the first time somebody who was was not white was calling to me and saying, I need your help, I need your vote, I need your support. And that's the first time I ever got out and volunteered, and I knocked doors for him, and I didn't know anything about him, but he said he needed me. I'm like, I'm there. And so I showed up and knocked doors and I voted, and I never looked back because I realized that there were all these people making decisions and I wasn't making those decisions with them. And so I really just encourage everyone who is here, for whatever that little seed is for you to, that why you are here, that matters, right? I think for me, the most important thing is that my children, I spent 15 years in the private sector. I was in investments and finance for many years. And I was actually in the classroom with my children every day, and I quit to be a stay-at-home mom because I thought there was no greater thing I could do than to really raise my children to participate in a society in which I didn't know how to participate in growing up. And so I remembered enrolling my children into school, and they kept coding my children as EL students. And it's not because I have any issues with being EL students, but my kids didn't speak any other language but English. And it really, for many, many years, my children continued to get coded as EL. And I remembered my daughter's senior year. This is from when she was in elementary school. She said, Mom, they won't let me graduate until I test out of EL. I'm like, what? You're still coded as EL? I don't understand this. And I said, well, tell them you're not going to take the test because you don't speak any other language but English. And she goes, oh, I already took it. It was pretty easy, and I'm done. And I was just like, oh. And so I really thought about the systemic and the structural racism in our institutions and the people who are in these institutions that are upholding it who look like us, right? We're part of this institution that upholds these racist structures. And so I thought, my God, I'm every day fighting for my children, and what happens in the situation where a mom and a dad or a family, they're all just working really hard, 2 jobs, just making ends meet, and they're not in the classroom, they can't fight for their kiddos. I thought, I gotta fight for everybody's kiddos, not just my kiddos. And so it was really, that was the reason why. And the other issue was that at the time my mom was going through some health issues, and I remembered having to call the insurance company asking why she wasn't getting her coverage, she wasn't being covered for a certain procedure. And they said, well, you had to call the clinic. They coded it as, the labs were sent out, but, they actually did the lab in-house. It was some weird situation. So I called them, and they said, no, we have to code it this way. And I was really mad. I lost it on these people, and I thought, my mom is dying, and I have to learn how you code so that you can reimburse, so that she can get her $40 so she can have groceries that week. I thought, this is unbelievable. And I thought to myself, well, who's fighting for everybody else's moms too? And that I couldn't just fight for my mom, I had to fight for everyone else's mom. And so that's why I ran. It was no big, giant thing that said like, oh, Kali, you know better, you know so much more, you're so smart. Like, none of that. I did not think I was smart enough, good enough, or brave enough to do this work, but I knew that there were some people who needed me to fight for them, and that's why I did it. So thank you all for being here and being a part of this with us, because whatever Colonel brought you in today, that fight is worth fighting for. So thank you for being here.
Fighter. Well, it feels really good to be in a room full of fighters. Okay. Right. And I'm Helen Bassett, and I'm running for the Robbinsdale School Board again. This time. My name is Helen Bassett, and I'm running for re-election to the Robbinsdale School Board. And this will be my 6th term, and so I've been on that board for 22 years. But how I came to this work was of course, I'm a mother, and I was involved with my daughter's schooling, and so got involved with some programs she was doing, and then got involved because they said, oh, can you come to this committee meeting? And I said, okay. So I went. And when I went, I got appointed first because there are a couple of other school board members who actually said these words: we want to hear a perspective that's different than ours. Now, these were a group of all white women. And so I'm like, okay. Put your hat in the ring for this open seat. And I said, okay. So then they called me and said, you got it. And I'm like, huh? What? Okay. I didn't say okay. I said, huh? But I'll tell you that in 2002, when they came to me and asked me that question, it's quite a different thing when a group of people come and say, we know we have some blind spots, and we want to ask you to come and work with us. That was my good fortune, because I worked with a group of women like that for about 8 years, and so you get to learn the craft from people who you can throw ideas on the wall and figure it out. So, and I was already doing work in violence prevention because my stepson had been murdered. So my husband and I were working in violence prevention and doing stuff with the Harvard School of Public Health, and we were doing, that's how when people lose somebody, that's how they get by. They go out and they do things that are going to make a difference. And so when I got on the school board, I realized there's so much I needed to know. So I thought, well, I'll run again. I'll run. And at that time, I was 53. So as I sit here today, I had a birthday on Wednesday, and I was 74. Woo. I'm just saying, okay? But I share that with you because I look at this energy here, and I look at these young warriors. And I'm going to retire from my day job, and I work for the state of Minnesota. So I happen to be I would say, in my whole career in state government, it's been great. But now I'm working in government affairs. So I work between the governor's office, the legislators, and our commissioner. And so it's unfortunate that I'm 74 because I don't have the same edge I had when I was 54. They probably would have thrown me out, okay? So, but my point is this, that when I look now at our children, and I heard you say, Kwali, that I think about all those mothers. What has kept me there is all of the women and the mothers who I know care about and love their children, but they can't be there. And when I think, and it's not just for me and my African American child, also I have brothers and sisters who are other ethnic backgrounds. So I met a kindred spirit, and he happened to be a Somali gentleman, and so he and I got together and we said, oh my gosh, we started some good trouble. So we started a group because we knew that there are other directors in the suburban communities who are on the school board serving by themselves. And by that time, those women who pulled me in were pretty much long gone. The people who are there now, did somebody say you're fighting demons on your board? I'm just saying, that's real. We need people who have courage. We need people who will be on a school board or be on the legislature or be whatever. Now, I have seen this woman in action, standing up to some of those legislators who are talking crazy and saying, oh, well, no, I did my work, I did this, I did that. And it's true, she did it. and they were just trying to tell her she didn't do it. We need this energy of young people who are not afraid to fight. We have a right to be here. And we have a duty to be here. And if we're not doing it, nobody's going to do it. If we don't do it, nobody's going to do it. So, this is my last time running. I said that last time, but this time I mean it. I'm really serious. I had thrown all my signs away when I ran because it was COVID, and I was not going to abandon the, folks at COVID. But now we've got to get past COVID and do something about these grades. These kids are not learning. These kids are not learning, and you got people who want to argue about stupid stuff. They're not arguing about what are we going to do about our kids, and we're paying some of these superintendents $250,000 a year, okay? Now, if you can't get it done with all that money that you've been spending, there's something wrong with that picture, okay? So we need fighters, and we need you in this room to lift us up, hold us down, keep us going, keep us strong, because if we don't do it, I don't know what's going to happen to these children. It's a terrible situation. I better stop.
Oh, preach. Can I just say preach? Okay, I feel like I just went to church. Good evening, everybody. Are we excited to be here? Thank you. Somebody's excited. I'm Hulda Hiltsley, Hulda Mumanyi Hiltsley, pronouns she, her. And to be honest, it is an honor to be sitting here. It is an honor to be in this room full of amazing women in our own sphere of influence. And I want to acknowledge Dr. Habon for everything that she continues to do in this community with Ayada. And I always say that I'm the one who missed out because by the time I discovered her, I could say she didn't ask me to run. But when I first met her, she was like, the first question she asked me, did you file? I was like, yeah. She was like, shoot. But guess what? Here's this, here's that, here's who you need to talk to, here's all of this stuff, right? And so I want to acknowledge you and honor you in this space. And then also vote, run, lead Beth. I mean, she was the first one who called me up. And she was like, so I hear you're running. What do you need? And I'm like, as a candidate and as a first time running for office, to have somebody ask you that is a very overwhelming question. But at the same time, it was like, somebody cares to even ask. So my story is twofold. So my family migrated here from Kenya, Kenya. And we fought the immigration system for 11 long years. So when somebody tells you, well, they need to do it the right way, well, you try to do it the right way and see what happens. It took us 11 long years to win our citizenship. And that's because of my church petitioning then Senator Paul Wellstone, who literally came and fought for us. And we had only 48 hours before being deported from this country. So to sit here 22 plus years later to run for office, I don't know about you guys, but that's the audacity of the American dream, right? And we always talk about, this saying, I am my ancestors' wildest dreams. Guess what? My ancestors weren't dreaming about their great, God knows what, daughter running for office in a faraway country. That was never in their dreams. But guess what? We are forging a new legacy, right? And to be a part of that, I get humbled every single day thinking about the magnitude of some of these spaces that we're in, some of these opportunities that we are afforded, right? And so, when that happened, Paul Wellstone and my family's journey, obviously, as I grew older, it started to become evident, like, okay, I have an opportunity to be a part of something great. So what got me into actual politics was that, I've been working in the Brooklyn's, community, mobilizing time and time again. I would go to the Capitol, talk to our, legislators, and it was like I was hitting the wall, like our priorities, at least the community that I was trying to represent, were not a top priority, right? And so I remember being in a fundraiser and, going up to my legislator and saying, hey, we've petitioned your office, we've come to your office, like, we're not able to reach you. I'm part of your constituency. And they literally giving me their card like this, and then not even acknowledging me, and then walking away to do whatever and say, well, reach my office, right? And at that moment, I was like, huh. And on the same breath, at that event, she stood up, announced her retirement, and then basically put the support on now the current Senator, Susan Pa. So at that moment, I was like, well, this is not the democracy that I dream about, right? So I looked around and I was like, I'm gonna run. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna run. And the people around me were like, what are you talking about, Hulda? And they laughed it off. But I'm telling y'all, that night at 3 o'clock in the morning, literally, I was under my covers typing in Google, what is a candidate? How do I run for office? That's how convicted I was. So anyways, so I started, doing my research. And so when I ran for Senate, 2022, it was an eye-opener for me because you don't realize how this system is stacked up against candidates of color, especially women. I literally, every door was shut. I didn't know that Ayada existed. I didn't know women winning existed. I didn't know any of this, right? And so, to make the story short, we definitely gave that race a run for their money. We put in the work. We were ranked second at times for voter mobilization. And these are people who literally had no idea about political landscape, nothing, but we came together under this umbrella of we need change, we need representation. And that was the whole premises of me running. And so I look back and I was like, you know what? It wasn't a loss. It was an opportunity for me to learn, to grow, right? And so when, that happened and my husband, asked me, so what are you going to do next? I'm like, well, there's still work to do. So I'm sitting, I knew I wasn't done with politics because I was sitting in Bali after this big, huge loss, because when you invest so much and you lose, it's like, it's painful, right? So my husband's like, let's just go, just take a break. And I'm literally in Bali at 3 a.m. in the morning, calling here talking about, did you go to the Capitol, that Omni bill, bus bill, all of this stuff. That's when my husband was like, can you go to the living room? You're not done. Take care of business. Let's just go back home and then figure out what you're going to do next, because it doesn't seem like you're done. And so I came back and really started to think about what does the next step look like for me. And when this opportunity opened up for Senate District 38A, where our current representative Mike Nelson announced his retirement, that's when I was like, all right, here's the opportunity that I've been waiting for, right? And so I'm excited to be in this space this time around. It feels different because I know better. I've grown. I've created a network. I know people like, Habon and Beth and Nevada, people who are literally here for the sole purpose of supporting candidates who look like me. That is crazy to me, And so I'm entering into this space more confident, more knowledgeable. And then we have, Representative Samantha here, who literally when I decided to run for this seat, I called up a whole bunch of representatives and I was like, I've done act for you, so you better endorse me, And some of them were like, I'm not gonna do it right now, but she, without a question, was like, let's meet up, let's have coffee. She was the first one to endorse this race for me, right? And then I see, Representative Maria, who literally shows up in every space authentically, and that makes me feel like I can show up and just be myself and I'll be okay, right? And then now I get a chance to literally be a part of history serving with Samantha Vang, because she's the B-side of our district. We'll have 3 women of color representing that district, y'all. It's the most diverse district in the whole entire state of Minnesota. So when I tell you guys it's possible, it is possible. So I think it's Representative Her who talked about that little fire, that little whatever it is inside of you, listen to it, lean into it. Because guess what? Whatever it is that is pushing you to do that, it's missing up here, and we need to see you up here. So next time you sit here and you're like, I don't belong in that space, look up here. You belong. And guess what? There's enough space for all of us to be in this space. Because if you look at the legislature right now, we have a long way to go, y'all. It's literally last election cycle that we have elected the first black women senators, y'all. Come on now, 160 plus years? So we have a long way to go. So I'm so appreciative for the opportunity. I'm excited to bring some energy into the Capitol, some style, all right? And just, hopefully have an opportunity to impact, the younger generation. My passion is the youths. Like, if we don't create an environment where we foster, because I never had that, where they can actually feel safe to express themselves, then what are we fighting for? And that's why I am so passionate about the school board candidate. I can't do school board. I just know I can't. So I applaud all of the candidates up here who are running for school board, because that's a different beast, and it starts there. And so if I can do something to support that, and if that means I get to go to the Capitol and help and partner with the school board candidates to fund the school board. We literally sit here and expect our teachers to be disciplinarian, to be therapists, to be this, to be that. And at the end of the day, expect them to teach our kids so our kids can have better grades. That is insane to me. The fact that we had 17 billion in surplus, y'all, billion in surplus in this state, and we still are talking about funding our schools, that is insane to me. There's a gap there that we need to address. Anyways, let me finish with that. I want to thank you so much, everybody, for being here, because it means a lot. This is important. This is the kind of space, honestly, I was telling my team, I'm taking a break from door knocking, y'all. I need some healing space. So this space for me is an outlet, because it's only 22 days or 21 days, 21 days until elections, and we are burnt out. So when you guys hear, hey, come out, help us, give us $5. I'm at the point, I used to be like, why is this person asking $5? We need that $5. So support, come door knock, come do whatever you can to get us through the finish line, because we are tired. We are exhausted, y'all. But we are going to continue doing this because our democracy is on the line. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. We started with a Sam, we'll end with a Sam. So I'm Samantha Sensimer. I'm the state representative for District 63A, representing part of South Minneapolis. I'm a mom, I'm an educator, and I'm a fourth-generation Japanese American, and that is certainly part of the journey that led me to run for office. So my grandparents, along with 120,000 Japanese Americans during World War II, were interned by a country, and my grandparents were citizens, and that history and the way that a government decision, a president's sign of the pen of an executive order, changed the trajectory of my family's legacy and history in this country. Culture was lost, businesses were lost, families were torn apart. And as people that carry that experience here in the U.S. with us, I think it's really important to continue to uplift that, because the political environment that we are in today is sadly not that different, right? In 2016, we heard Trump talking about a Muslim ban, and I felt like my community needed to stand up and say never again, not on our watch. We hear today presidential candidates or vice presidential candidates that are repeating lies, stereotypes about communities, and we see that is bringing out unprecedented hate towards that communities and can lead to actual government decisions if we don't have the right people at the table. So being that representation, carrying that history is part of what led me to run for office. I would say the other part is, thinking about young people and education and the youth in our country and wanting to make sure that everyone understands that history, right? Gets to both see themselves and their stories and their culture and what we are learning in schools, but also so everyone learns that history so we don't repeat it. I, along with many other people in this group, were part of the group that passed the Ethnic Studies bill, Ethnic Studies for All, last session. And that was incredibly important to me, because when I think about my family's history in this country, my grandparents, my grandma and grandpa spent their school experience in an internment camp where they were taught that their religion, their culture, their language was wrong. My father grew up in an environment where that internment camp and his culture was never talked about. My schooling experience, I was told by teachers that I could learn about that in college, right? Ethnic studies was something that you could do in college, and if you got to college, good for you, and if you didn't, too bad, right? Because you're not going to be able to see yourself until then. And so I am dedicated to creating a different environment, a different educational environment for all young people, including my kids here in Minnesota. And the last thing that I'll say is, thinking about anyone in this room who has like an inkling, a voice in the back of your head that's thinking about running for office. I heard that now St. Paul City Council President Mitra Jalali say this in 2018 to a woman of color conference where she said, don't wait until you feel ready because you're never going to feel ready, right? And I will say, as someone who works at the House with 133 colleagues, I always say that like the women of color that I work with are some of the most impressive people that I have ever met that carry the world on their backs. And the white men that I work with are some of the least impressive people that I have ever met. And so just know that that is like who you will be running against. And we all have your backs if you want to do it. So thank you.
And so with that, we will give the panelists another round of applause and thank them for all the knowledge and grace and wisdom that they've provided us tonight. And so we'll open up the space to at least 2 to 4 questions. So folks, feel free to please share your questions, thoughts, comments. Congratulations to these wonderful folks up on the stage. Any questions, any comments? Yes, I see one person back there.
For the people running for re-election, if you could give someone that is freshly considering to come on to join a race, what advice would you give them, or what do you wish you would have known, excuse me, before you took your seat?
Thank you, Alexis. Who wants to answer?
Be present. Also ask for help too. Like, you know, it's a team. Like your collective circle, that's your centerpiece. And I think about kind of these moments where, you know, folks that you may have thought were gonna have your back, that you know, you supported and maybe even they mentored you to even think about running one day, and they were ghosts. Don't let that stop you, because you need to be present for those that are in those spaces with you, whether it's your campaign manager, whether it's your babysitter, whether your family. The ones that are there in those moments that are fragile, and it's okay to be fragile. Like, you know, in leadership, we're expected to have like this superhero, you know, essence where you're like, yeah, you're putting yourself into position to be an X-Men. You know, you're a mutant as a woman of color running for office. But there's a lot that comes with that, and it's a part of the journey. And I think the best thing that I could leave you with is that, you know, count on that journey, those that are with you on the journey, like they're a phone call away. I remember one time I was like, I'm type 1 diabetic. I had like an insulin cartridge that was like not doing what it needed to do. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to be on this debate and I'm on live television and it's illegal women voters and you're at 3 different fundraisers. And I'm like, wait, I'm type 1 diabetic. I need someone to go get my insulin right now. And they're like, oh, you don't have to do it. I was like, nope, just go. And like my campaign manager like ran, drove to the west side from Midway and like came back and I was all good and I clobbered the guy who was running or the woman that was running against me, you know? So like, but I wouldn't have been able to do that if I wasn't being honest. And you have to stay spiritually and emotionally and mentally and physically healthy, y'all. Like the work is gonna whoop your ass. But guess what? We're women and we don't take that shit. Excuse me. but so ask for the help and know that, like, especially I want to salute like the women that were on that journey too. The first ones that were like, you know, Zay was running for the first time and we were on it. Mary Clardy, who's like auntie, you know, and then other women that are elected that have been there for 2 terms and that are saying, hey, we're here, and men too. You know, the brothers are in this journey with us. So ask for that help when you need it, and by any means necessary.
So I'm the one who actually ran with Representative Sam Vang. We were elected together in 2018. And I would say that I think that all of you are here because you were smart enough to navigate the institutions and the structures, whether it was work or education. But that the reason why you're here is not because we're smarter than anybody else. It is because we were able to navigate systems and institutions. Know that when you're running for re-election, it is no longer about you just making sure that you win. It is actually about you now saying, how do I understand this system and this structure? Because I didn't know this after my first term, but I realized that everybody who was going to get a chair, everybody who was going to get a position in leadership, they were already building that in the election cycle. And here I am thinking, like, I just got to work really hard and I win my seat and I'm going to get there. The truth is that once you're there, that is not enough, because you will be fighting with people who are mediocre, who do not work as hard as you, who do not know as much as you, but you will not get a leadership position if you do not know how to navigate that system. So when you are finally, like, after you win the first time, you're like, oh, I did it, I'm here. The journey has just begun. You're going to have to figure out how that institution operates, who holds the power, who has the official power, who has unofficial power, who's going to be able to get you to where you need to be, and then figure that out so that then you can position yourself, because the truth is that you're one at the legislature, in the House, you're one out of 134 people. If you want your bill to pass, if you want to be able to make decisions on what is going to happen, you better figure out how to navigate those systems. And so I would say, remember that when you're running for re-election, it's no longer about you and winning that race. It is about navigating that system and ensuring that you get something out of it.
Well, and the only thing that I would say and add to that, everything is right on point, is also be looking for somebody that can replace you. Always be looking for somebody who can come after you and who can get the job done, because it's just like water. You put water in a glass and you put your hand in and you take your hand out, the water goes right back where it was. You need to find someone and mentor them so they can come along behind you and keep it going. That's right.
Well, with that, thank you so much for our amazing panelists, our change makers, our change agents, for coming into this space and providing us that wisdom. Thank you all for all showing up to hear them, to be in this space, to really have that collective wisdom shared, and to really work towards a more sustainable and future-forward opportunity, future for us, and ecosystem. So thank you, and with that, we will close out tonight's session.